Hey, I did something fairly interesting today. I wanted to take pictures with my film camera without using film. So instead of using film, I chose to use regular, photographic paper. Like the paper that you would use to make prints like this in your darkroom, and photograph directly on a paper and bypassing the film altogether. This is what I did. I took the paper and I needed to cut it a little bit. The paper I'm using here is a Fomapan 311, just regular photographic paper, and I put it into a 4x5 sheet film holder like this. Now this of course needs to happen under the red light or in darkness in the dark room. Now typically you would put film in there, but I just put regular photo paper. Then I put this into my Graflex. And right now with my Graflex I'm using this old interesting bronze lens. I don't know which brand this is, but these kind of old lenses are fairly cheap and they all have interesting characteristics, so I'm a fan of these lenses. And I do it's fairly easy to make on a plywood and cut the piece of plywood like this, and even I can do that. Anyway, so now I got my Graflex ready and I got a piece of photographic paper attached to it. Now then, unlike film, photo paper is fairly slow, so I rated it between ASA 3 to ASA 6, so it's in that ballpark. So the exposure time became fairly long. In this case it was about 30 seconds. I put my Graflex on a tripod and took one picture. Then I went to the dark room and developed the photo paper, not like I would develop a film, but the same way I would develop a print. Now a photo paper creates a negative image of whatever you are exposing it with. In a regular case you would expose your photo paper with a negative. So then the picture you would get on your paper is positive. It's a regular photograph. But since I took the picture with my camera, the picture I'm getting here is a negative. So then this is the picture I got. This is the picture I took in my kitchen on a photo paper with my Graflex. It's a negative, but it is on a photographic paper. Pretty cool, huh? And still being wet from the development liquids, I took another sheet of photo paper, just a fresh white sheet of photo paper, dipped this into water so these both were wet, and then I put this negative on a piece of black plastic to get rid of all possible reflections. It's now wet and it's on top of this plastic, and then I took this other piece of unexposed photo paper, also wet, and carefully put it, underneath, and then this negative on top of this other piece of paper. And since they are both wet, they stick together pretty nicely. Then I turn the lights on for 2 seconds, and with that regular light exposed the paper underneath through this negative image. There's some light going through a regular paper. More light going through the white parts of the paper, less light going through the black parts. And thus expose this fresh sheet of paper, and this is what I got. I got a positive image. This is the one I took with my Graflex, developed it as any paper print, put these on top of each other, exposed to a regular light, and got my positive. And this has a really cool look. I don't think that I get this kind of results with any other means, and I like that a lot. I like to have new tools in my toolbox. So after I took this, I wanted to go and try a bit more, and this is what I did. Then I came back from the lake and I went immediately to my darkroom and created both positive and negative images from the lake session. Let's take a look at the pictures. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I mean, each and every of these pictures turn out pretty interesting. I mean, there's this one that got away because the camera tilted over and almost went to the lake and I missed that photo. But every other picture is pretty nice. And there's quite a bit of contrast in these pictures, so next time I may want to try to use the filters, the ones that I use in my darkroom to control the contrast of the final print. So they should work fine. And maybe limiting the complexity. I mean, now I had a pinhole camera, I had a photo material with an ASA number 3 to 6, makes estimating the exposure time pretty complex. Tripod on a moving boat. I mean, you could make life a little bit simpler than that. I know that Ilford, for example, offers photo paper that turns directly into positive pictures, so that would also simplify the process, because then you wouldn't need to put these on top of each other and expose one more time in the darkroom. But this is part of the fun, like using these primitive tools to create photographs. Yeah. And by the way, at least for me, this once again proves my case. Like, it doesn't make any sense to stick to one camera and one film. I mean, you would lose all these kind of interesting experiments and life would be so much more boring. Experiment, do different things, try crazy things. Pinhole on a boat, on a photo paper.